Hey guys. I'm gonna wait for you guys to hop on for a second. And I just ate something, so hold on. So I just ate black beans. You know how black beans can get all up in your teeth. So today, we are going to talk about healthy eating during the holiday season, because that is the number one thing that I get from you guys is how to navigate healthy eating during the holiday season. So I will wait for, I know a couple of you are, hold on, let me do the invite thing. Elena, I know you were looking at that. Hey, whoever hopped on. Samantha. Invite. Okay. You'll have to tell me who you are so I can say hi personally. I just ate lunch and I had black beans and now I feel like they're all up in my teeth, guys. Okay. I'm going to pull up all of the questions that you guys asked in the group, and then we're going to start dismantling them, right? Some of the hard stuff. But my computer is not working with me. Hi, whoever hopped on. Come on, guys. Did you hate when technology isn't working for you? Okay. Let me see if I can move this way. I'm trying to find the questions. I'm just trying to log on to like another Nourished Mama. There we go. Ah, here we go. Okay, here's all the comments. Sorry, guys. All right, Gabrielle. You said it seems rude in my family culture not to eat a family member's dish no matter how salty or fattening it is. Okay. So this is tough. Another one, Crystal, you said same here. It's a cultural thing with my family as well. Like you feel like this obligation to eat foods that you may not. I don't know. Here's the deal. If one of you are on, let me know. But do you enjoy them, or are you you want to eat them, but you feel like they are fattening, or do you? I should have asked this before. Or do you not enjoy them and you feel obligated to eat them and you don't even want to because it's not good and it's not good for you? I don't know which one it is, but we'll just answer both, okay? So here's the deal with that. Family dynamics are tough during the holiday season, and it's the number one thing that people complain about, right? They go home for the holidays, and I had a grandmother who every time I saw her for the holidays, she would, sorry, I'm like really, there's lipstick on my finger. So every time I would go home for the holidays, she would give me a big hug, and then she would inform me whether I had gained or lost weight since the last time I saw her, right? Like it was like my update. And it was always so frustrating when she would tell me like, oh, it looks like you put on a few pounds, right? So family dynamics are hard. It's tough. And when it feels like you're going to be rude if you say no thank you to something, there's two things. If you actually do enjoy that food, but you're just, maybe you have like a slight fear of it, or you're afraid that, you know, it's fattening, like you were saying, it's fattening, it has too much salt, all these things. If you really enjoy it, but you just have like that fear that it's not healthy for you, I'm going to give you some really crazy advice. Eat it. And I know that sounds bizarre, but I think it's really important that we don't stigmatize certain foods, because when we do that, we make them forbidden. And number one, that makes us really want it. But number two, what happens is we feel shame and guilt while we're eating that food. So even if you do enjoy the food, but you have put shame and guilt into yourself, like that's what you're feeling while you're eating it, you're going to burn less. Studies show, science shows, you're going to burn less, and you're not going to metabolize, you're not going to absorb the nutrients like you would if you had enjoyed that food. So it's really important. There's two things. If you really enjoy the food, but you're afraid it's like not good for you, eat the food and enjoy it. And you don't have to eat a lot of it. I think that that's a misconception. So like on the holidays, especially like culturally, you may have that same, you know, I had another grandmother who would always be like, eat, 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 right? And she would get great joy out of watching us eat and enjoy her food. But there isn't a limit. Like you don't have to eat a certain amount for that positive experience, right? You can eat an amount that feels good for you. So guys, can you see me? This is like not working. Okay, so the suggestion that I would give to you guys would be to enjoy that food, but to really make sure that you are paying attention. So if it's one of those foods that maybe is high in butter or whatever, you allow yourself to enjoy it, savor it, so that your mind can register that was a fulfilling experience. And if you do that, if you eat it slowly, you savor every bite, you really enjoy it, there are no negative thought gremlins, your mind is going to tell you that you feel fulfilled and satisfied a lot sooner than if you wait for your stomach to tell your mind that it's full. Because when your stomach tells your mind it's full, it's stuffed, right? So I would say for Gabrielle and for Crystal, if you really enjoy the food, eat it. If you do not enjoy the food, okay, I just talked about this earlier today. If you don't enjoy the food at all, like if it's just ugh, don't eat it. And I know that's going to be really hard for you, but there's nothing wrong with saying no thank you. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, and we'll just use grandma as an example because a lot of times it's the grandma, right? Hey, Gram, you know what? No thank you to that, but I would really love this. I love that thing that you make over here or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a jerk no, right? It can be a very nice, kind no, but it's important to hold your boundaries, okay? And if you have problems holding your boundaries, and if you feel guilty for doing what's best for you, then that's where the head and the heart work comes in. That's where you need to start working head and heart work and figure out where that root cause of the deservingness and the worth stuff comes from, because that's where it is. If you're feeling guilty for being you, if you're feeling guilty for what's doing best, for what you are doing that's best for you, then we have to do head and heart work, okay? So that was the very first one, Gabrielle and Crystal. Jen, everything tastes good and is only available once a year. Yes. This is a big one too, right? So right before the holidays, right before Thanksgiving, I walk through with my group coaching clients. I'm like, okay, so what do you want that will make Thanksgiving feel like Thanksgiving, right? What are the 3 foods that you want to eat? And we went through all of that, and I said, okay, now you're going to eat them, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing for you to enjoy foods that you only eat once a year. Like we almost feel guilty for enjoying those foods. Like, oh, I'm only going to get it once a year, and you know, I just have to get it all in, and I feel kind of guilty for doing that, but then I would feel deprived and, you know, left out if I didn't. So here's the thing, it's the same thing that I was talking about before. It's about allowing yourself to enjoy that food. And when you allow yourself to enjoy that food, you're not coming from it with the intention of, hold on, sorry. You're not coming from it with the intention of like shovel, shovel, shovel. I'm not gonna get this for another year. I have to eat it, and you know, in January I'll get it together, right? It's this idea that you are going to sit down and you're going to enjoy it. You're going to savor it, and when you do that, that little mechanism inside your brain is going to say, wow, I feel really fulfilled. That was really satisfying. That was a really positive experience, and it's going to say you've had enough. So before you got to that point where you've overindulged and you feel like, you know, crap, right? So when you say, Jen, everything tastes good and it's only available once a year, then yeah, enjoy it. But enjoy it with that intention of paying attention and really enjoying and savoring every little bite of it. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think, there's some things, oh, like there's these cookies that I make. I put them on there, right? Those snowball cookies, they're so good. And they have like, I kid you not, 3 sticks of butter. That's what makes them so good, right? So that was one of the things that I really love. And it literally makes Christmas feel like Christmas. Like once we made those cookies, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas. I find myself eating a lot less unhealthy food when I'm at home, given that I'm in a decent emotional state, but eating more when out of the home, social eating, trying to figure out why I do this. Yeah, Rebecca. Okay, so that's really interesting that you say that, because most of my dysregulated eaters eat more at home behind the scenes than they do out, because they don't like to feel judged. I am like you. If I'm at home, I'm eating pretty healthy stuff, and I don't eat like overeat or overindulge. But if I'm going out, if I'm at a restaurant, or if I'm, there socially, it's a little bit harder for me to keep track of things, especially if it's like a buffet appetizer kind of situation, or you're at a cocktail party. It's kind of hard to keep track of it, and you're in such a great mood, and everything is fun and exciting, and you're like, ooh, that looks good, and this looks good, and by the end of the night, you've had too much, right? Or like I was talking about with Gabrielle and Crystal stuff, it's really about this whole idea that in social settings that there is some sort of something, like if it's a person or a thing or a situation that is triggering you to eat foods that you normally wouldn't eat, right? So yeah, that is really about coming down to, I'm trying to think for you. Can you give me an example, like the last time you had a tough time of it, Rebecca? If you're still on, let me know. And maybe we can get to the bottom of this. That'd be fun, right? Okay. Samantha, it's so close to the end of the year and starting over in January. Sometimes it's easier not to fight the cravings. Okay. When we put things off, and we say stuff like, life will start when, or like things will get better when, or I'll be happy when. This was on the formula to success stuff. So Samantha just had a baby, okay? So the baby's not even 6 weeks old, I don't think. The baby's really tiny. She's just a little peanut. So you have been through the ringer, first of all, and you need to give yourself a lot of grace. And I'm speaking to Samantha specifically on this one. But we've all done this. We've all done that, like, oh, I'll just wait till after the holidays thing, right? But for her specifically, you need to give yourself a lot of grace. You just created a human being and popped that human being out of your body. And it was a tough road. It wasn't smooth sailing. And you went through a lot with that. So on top of all the regular hormonal craziness that goes on after you have a baby, and then the fact that it wasn't completely smooth sailing and that you had that kind of discomfort, give yourself a lot of grace in that. With that being said, if that's something that really bothers you, that like for whatever reason you just feel like it's easier to put it off than to address it right now, I would say that this is probably coming down to the fact that whatever your goals are feels hard. What happens is, and Rebecca, you can come back to me whenever, I'll answer that. So what happens is, when we feel like whatever goal that we want for ourselves, so whether it's losing 45 pounds, can't think of a specific instance, but I feel like maybe it has something to do with my confidence. Like I'm trying to prove that I'm confident enough in my weight to eat whatever I want in public. Does that make sense? I still feel the shame later and a lack of self-control. Yeah, it does make sense. It's this, you know what? Okay, Samantha, I'm going to come right back to you. Rebecca, this makes complete sense. This is that whole idea of, I'm trying to think of how to say this. How we all want to be, like, not necessarily we all want to be, like, but there's that vision of being that girl that has the hearty appetite and can eat the big cheeseburger and fries and eat as much as the guys do, but still stay really thin. Or like this idea that, like, I don't care, like I'm not one of those super healthy, ridiculously healthy people. Yes, I eat healthy, but I can still eat that cheeseburger and all that kind of stuff, right? But like you just nailed it. It's like proving yourself. So here's the thing: when we feel like we have to prove ourselves, it's a worth thing. It comes down to worth, like your self-worth. Like, why do you feel like you have to prove yourself? Because you being you is perfectly acceptable, right? Like, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You don't have to prove why you can eat healthy or why you have to eat healthy. You don't have to prove yourself that you're confident in your weight, because with a cheeseburger, I always say cheeseburger because that's my thing, right? Or whatever it is, like if you're out in public, like you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, but for whatever reason you feel like you have to prove yourself. So what is it? Like, where does that come? And like, yeah, of course, like then later on you're like, man, why did I do that? Yeah, no, totally. I would think about that, Rebecca. I would go a little bit deeper on that worth stuff for you. Okay, back to you, Samantha. It is, and you can comment, Rebecca, to let me know. I'm just curious now. When we put things off that we really want to do, sometimes it's because it feels almost impossible. Like if I tell you, okay, if we did like, I don't even do this, but if you went to like the doctor and they said, okay, you have 45 pounds to lose to be in a healthy body weight, right? And I keep using 45 because one of my clients, she just said 45. She announced that she had lost 45, so that's like in my head. But like, let's say the doctor says you have 45 pounds to lose, okay? And you're like, okay, I really got to get this together. I've got to start doing this. I got to start eating healthier. I've got to, walk more and all this stuff. And you get excited about it. You start throwing out all the other stuff, and you lose 2 pounds. And it's been 2 weeks. And all you could think of is, I can't do this for, 6 more months. Like, this feels impossible. Like, it's been the hardest 2 weeks of my life. I've only lost 2 pounds. I've got 43 to go, and it feels hard. So if that's the case, if you're looking at a goal that almost feels impossible, then you're always going to keep putting it off. Like, you're not going to do something that you're not going to succeed at, like, right? Like, your brain is protecting you from failing, and feeling those negative emotions that are associated with failing. So for you, it's really about coming to terms with, right, what your goals are. And for me, if you listen to that video, go back and listen to my rant over numbers and why I don't focus on numbers. We focus on the process. That is a lot easier to get through, right? If you can focus on the process of it, then you don't have to. Then it doesn't feel as hard. It doesn't feel impossible because there is no goal, right? There's no 40-pound weight loss. There's no I need to be in a size 6. There's no I need to lose this much more. There's none of that. So when you take that off the table, you just focus on the process, and you're able to actually do that. That feels possible, right? If I said, okay, all you're going to do is eat 5 cups of vegetables a day for the next week, that feels doable, right? You might have to think, wow, like which vegetables I'm going to have, or you would think some things, but you're not going to think that's impossible. It seems pretty easy, right? So that's what I'm saying, is it's focusing on the process. Because if you're saying, I'm not going to wait until, I'm just going to wait until the new year, it's just going to be easy, I'll just wait until the new year, you're putting it off. And you're putting it off because it doesn't feel like something you can do at this point. And Samantha, for you just had a baby. Like, give yourself some grace on that, okay? Also, because you said sometimes it's easier to not fight the cravings. And if you're having a lot of cravings, number one, it could be because you, sometimes if you are sugar sensitive and you eat a lot of sugar, your body's going to crave a lot of sugar. It could be because your gut health. Like, if you have compromised gut health, you're not going, you're going to have higher levels of bad bacteria and lower levels of good bacteria, and that bad bacteria is going to send messages for more sugar, okay? So some of it could be biologically driven. Also, if you're saying that it's easier not to fight the cravings, you may have put certain foods in high esteem. So if you have taken foods and deemed them forbidden and you have pushed them up, then what you're doing is when you're saying they're forbidden, you push them up into this pedestal and they're on high esteem, right? You want them. They're almost glorified. And in your mind, especially if you're one of those people that, and I don't know about this for you, Samantha, but if you are one of these people that have like the cheat meals like built into your health and wellness program, then all you're doing is fantasizing about all these foods that you're going to eat for your cheat meal that week or your cheat day or whatever, right? And to fix that, to actually stop the craving stuff, you got to pull it back down to earth, okay? You got to pull it back down and level out. All foods are created equal. All foods are the same. There is no good or bad. And when we do that, it sometimes helps with the cravings, but a lot of it could be biologically driven. And like I said, you just had a baby, so your hormones are like crazy. So that might also be a factor right now. But if that's something that like you've actually struggled with like year after year after year, I would say it's a goal thing. Sorry, I'm all hacky. It's a goal thing, and it's a, I bet it's sugar cravings. I bet there's something there, either biologically driven or gut health thing. Sorry guys, I like never hack unless I'm on a live. Okay, let's go to the next one. Stacy. I think for me, it's part of the treat thing that we spoke of previously. By sticking to a healthy diet with the usual portion sizes, then after the main meal, we graze until the fridge is empty. Yeah. So this is when I hear that I eat a meal, but then I graze until all night. Okay, hold on. I'll answer you in a second, Stacey. Let me get to Rebecca. I've struggled with feeling truly accepted by my friends my entire life, simply because I was paranoid that I was being talked about behind my back. So I preached and walked in self-confidence constantly as a defense. So yes, this is posturing. It's not, yeah, it's like a pseudo-confidence. It's posturing. And we've all been here, done that, right? I still do. I find myself doing that with my ex-husband, right? Because he is a very difficult person to be around, and I put that defense up, right? And I can feel myself posturing, where your shoulders, like literally your shoulders are back and your chest is out, and you feel confident, right? But it's that pseudo confidence. It's I don't feel confident, so I'm going to look like I do, right? And this is different than kind of like walking the walk until you feel it, right? This is this idea that I'm not confident enough in my truly authentic, I'm not confident in my authentic self. So I'm going to appear as though I'm confident. I'm going to stand really tall, and I'm going to make it appear that I'm confident with myself and I don't care what everybody thinks about me. And you may even make comments like that. Throw those around there a few times, like, I don't care what you think about me, but deep down you really do, right? So yeah, when I was talking about how this all comes down to worth for you because of what you said about proving yourself, that's all a worth issue. And then you're saying that I struggle with feeling accepted. Again, this is the same thing. Why wouldn't people accept you? You're amazing. You're Rebecca Holder, right? So it all comes down to where is that coming from for you? Where is that core why? And I would journal around that, because here's the thing. This isn't just a food thing. This is a life thing. Like you said, here I am walking into, my group of friends, and I don't feel like I'm accepted, not truly accepted. I feel like they're always going to be talking about me, or I'm not good enough, right? And that's absolutely false. And if your friends really think like that, you need to find some new friends. But and that's like the mama coming out of me. You gotta find some new friends. But honestly, this is a worth issue. This is something that you need to work out so that you don't feel like that. So that you feel like you're connected with those around you, and you feel like you have authentic, real, deep connections with these people, right? And that you're truly accepted for who you are. But this is a who am I kind of project for yourself. And then figuring out who you are, and then knowing that that is 100% worthy. Like you are 100% worthy because you are Rebecca Holder, right? Okay, so Stacy. So it's, yeah, sticking to a healthy diet with the usual. You're welcome, Rebecca. Seriously, like it's hard to get to that point. It takes head and heart work. It took me years of head and heart work. And then I got into a bad marriage, and it took me even longer to do the head and heart work to get my confidence back. So I feel you on that one. I really do. And Stacey, you talk about the healthy diet and the portion sizes and how like you're pretty good with that. And then after dinner is when you start getting that snacky feeling and you just kind of graze, right? Here's the thing. You are not eating, and I know this is going to sound really bizarre, but I have a feeling you're probably not eating enough quality protein and healthy fat at the dinner time. And then you are snacking all night, right? Or you have a gut health issue and the bad bacteria is craving all of the things that you want at the end of the night. Or you are really exhausted and your body is saying, hey, I really need sleep. Or I really need rest, I need nourishment. But it's in the form of rest, not food. And the body gets confused sometimes between food nourishment and rest nourishment. And I know you work late at night. So that if you work shift work, right? I think you work at a pub, if I can remember right. I think you are in England in a pub. So if that's the case, then yeah, shift work is also going to throw you off. You'll have to get on here and let me know if that's right. Oh, and the offerings are mostly junk food instead of healthy options too. Yeah, so for that, it's like anything. You can find healthy options and you can find junk food options, right? And it's whatever you really want, you're gonna find. Because I'm telling you, like I can go to a fast food restaurant and find grilled chicken if I wanted to. Now, if I wanted to, I could also drive up and be like, oh, it's a fast food restaurant, they don't have anything, right? You kind of have these blinders on. So yeah, it's about finding those healthy options and being okay with choosing those healthy options, if that makes sense. Sarah Dennis Schroeder says, which, okay, you guys have to know. So my name is Sarah Doyle Schneider, and Sarah Dennis Schroeder is a good friend of mine. And she even has blonde hair and stuff, so it's actually kind of funny how closely related our names are. But Sarah Dennis Schroeder says, staying away from all the traditional desserts. My family shows love through food, not their correct way to show food. And then Elena says, don't all families show love through food? Yeah. So my family is Irish and Sicilian. And my Sicilian grandmother, she definitely shows love through food, okay? I get this. But here's the thing, like, Sarah, you are allowed to have traditional desserts. It's not, the dessert itself is not the problem. You eating desserts is not a problem. It's when we feel deprived and then we think to ourselves, well, it's the holidays and, I don't get this, and what if I go through the whole holidays and I don't eat this and then I won't get it for another year, and you get all these like thoughts and emotions and yeah, it causes you to get to a point where you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna have it, and you eat. This is the same thing where you go back to eating it, but eating it in a way that you're paying attention and you're really savoring and enjoying. So that little mechanism, I'm going to say this like 800 times today, but that little mechanism is able to click and tell you, wow, I feel really satisfied, fulfilled. Thank you so much. This was such a great experience. But the thing about it is you cannot have negative thought gremlins running through your head, swirling through your head, if you are eating that dessert. Because even if you're not in a negative emotional state, if you have feelings of guilt or shame or any of those negative emotions while you're eating, your body is not going to metabolize that. It's not going to burn those calories like it would have if you were in a positive mental state. Joni, I realized a lot of it for me was the memories during Thanksgiving. Yes, I ate a lot, but I ate the stuff that was good for me and still had the great memories without all the cake. Sorry, at work, kind of busy. Hope that makes sense. Yes, Joni, it's the same thing. I'm glad you're at work. Joni, she's a first responder, so that's really great work. She's taking care of the city of Houston right now. Yes, so a lot of it is about the memories. And sometimes we feel like, well, we can't have a positive memory if it doesn't include the food because the food is what made it so positive. But that's not necessarily the case. So like, I would say if there's a food that you don't really love, but you feel like you need to eat because it's the holidays and that's what you do on the holidays, I would consider what emotions, I would consider about what feelings bubble up for you when you think back to that food. So let's say that you love the snowball cookies like I do, right? I love the snowball cookies. And one of the things that makes this food so comforting and so special to me is that I get to eat, that I get to make, like I used to make this with my mom and my sisters, and it was just a really good, heartfelt, warming, kind of warm and fuzzy kind of feeling that I got when I had this experience as a kid, right? It's exciting, it's fun. So it's about taking those feelings, right? It's about, I just said this earlier today, I don't know what it is about bottling up these feelings, bottling up all these positive emotions and feelings that we have in one of it and pushing it into something else. So like if we have all these positive emotions and feelings and it's all bottled up from this one experience, from this experience of eating these yummy cookies, you can take that and you can still have those same feelings and emotions and release that into your holiday. I know that sounds really granola, you guys. Like this is more granola than I normally speak about, but it's true because it's not necessarily about that one food and eating it until you're sick to your stomach. The reason you're eating that food is because you're trying to achieve that emotion. You're trying to achieve that feeling. You're trying to get somewhere emotionally, right? Even if it's not like emotional eating, but that's what you're trying to get at. So if you can isolate what those emotions and feelings are, then you can bring those emotions and feelings into the situation without food. Make sense? Thank you, Joni. That totally helped me like on my rant. I get on rants a lot. Okay. So, Sarah Dennis Schroeder, eat the traditional desserts, but do it in a way that nourishes your body and nourishes your heart. Okay, so you're gonna do it both. Like you want it to feel good, without any shame, without any guilt, without any like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. This is the one thing that drives me nuts more than anything. Ooh, I was so bad, I ate that. Like you're not bad because you eat a dessert. And I'm not saying Sarah, you do this. I'm saying a lot of people do this, like, oh, I was so bad, I ate this, or I was naughty, I had the cake, you know what I mean? And we make it into something funny, we kind of laugh about it, but we really feel that on the inside. We really feel like we were naughty or bad or, you know, I wouldn't say worthless, but kind of, you feel like really guilty for doing something like that, and that shouldn't be the case. It's just food. And yes, all families, just to let you know, all families show love through food. Not entirely, but yeah, absolutely. You know, I show love through food, and I'm a nutritionist. I love to make, you know, warm, nourishing dishes for my family when it gets cold outside. And it's finally going to get cold in Texas today. This has been the hottest winter, December, whatever, I feel like on record. Like I totally am starting to agree with this global warming stuff. So yeah, it does fill me up that my family can sit around and eat some nourishing, you know, warm chili or soup or something like that, and we can laugh and joke and all that kind of stuff. Of course, that is love, right? Just like sitting and snuggling on the couch and reading a Christmas book is love. Like it is all forms of love. It's just, it doesn't have to be the end-all be-all. Food doesn't have to be the only way we show love, right? But it's allowed to be one of the ways, of course. Like if my husband is a big sweets kind of guy, and he's also a competitive cycler, so he burns like ridiculous amounts of calories a day. I think we calculated one time, it's anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 calories a day. So I will stop by and get him stuff from the bakery, and he loves it. He feels, you know, he feels good and appreciated, and I love doing it. So yeah, you can absolutely show love with food, and that's okay. I think that sometimes we get to this point where we want to have this better relationship to food, and all of those things that we want to like banish everything that we ever did. And that's not the case. That's not a healthy way of looking at it holistically and comprehensively, right? Okay. Elena, she is one of my group coaching clients. She's awesome too. Joni is too. Feeling like everyone is staring at me when I'm eating. Elena, this is yours and yours alone. And I say this in the nicest way possible because I love you to death. But when we feel like people are staring at us, perhaps people maybe, but I don't think that's the case most of the time. A lot of people, when they're overweight, they feel like everybody is staring at them, wondering like, why are you eating that? This is just making you fatter, and all of these things that we think inside of our head. And I had the same feelings when I was overweight, especially because I was overweight during junior high and high school. And I'm telling you, that is like the absolute worst time to be overweight, is when kids are the most cruel about it, right? And I always had a fear of eating in front of people because I just felt like that would give them ammunition, more ammunition. See, we can just see you getting fatter, right? And in junior high, I actually, I cut back. Like I refused to eat in front of anybody at lunch. And it was because I didn't want them to see that. And Rebecca, what happens a lot of times is we go from that extreme to the other extreme. Like, I love myself and I'm going to eat whatever I want. You know what I mean? Because I love myself, but you're like, I really am still struggling. So yeah, there's this idea that everyone is staring at you, and I totally get it. For the most part, there might be some like evil troll of a person that is thinking mean things, right? Like, that's the reality of it. But for the most part, most people do not care what you are doing because they are more focused on what they are doing and how people are judging them, okay? Seriously. Nobody's looking at you like, man, that girl, I can't believe she's eating all that queso or whatever it is. I don't even know if you eat queso, Elaine. I think no, you don't. You don't do dairy. So it's not like, as much as you may feel like it's you, like they're all judging you, thinking about you. What's that movie, like Watching, Staring, Look at the Baby, Look at the Baby? Is that a Seinfeld episode? I think so. I think that's a Seinfeld episode with Janice. You know what I mean? Where she's talking about that. Look at the baby, look at the baby. Or no, it's Vince Vaughn. It's Vince Vaughn in that that other movie. I don't know. Someone you can help me out here. But that's what I always think about, like judging, watching, look at the baby, look at the baby. And it's inside, right? And here's the thing: when you do the head and the heart work, then you don't really care. Because like right now, if I were to go out and eat something, if someone were judging me for what I was eating, I could care less. Because I don't care what other people think. And there's this idea, if you ever read Brene Brown's books, Brene Brown is a researcher and a professor at the University of Houston. So she's a fellow Houstonian. She's amazing, and she does a lot of work around boundaries. And one of the things that I was looking, it's not Daring Greatly, it's in Rising Strong. I was thinking of my bookshelf. In Rising Strong, she talks about this idea, this concept of only appreciating the comments from the people we love, right? So if somebody that you love comes to you and says something like constructive criticism kind of thing, then we really value that, right? Like your husband says, you know, you're always on your phone. You need to get off your phone so much. Like, I would like to spend some time with you, which is what my husband says to me. That matters. If somebody who you have never met before in your life decides that it's their duty to judge you and to think negative things about you and to look at you or stare at you, or like you can like feel the negativity, that's not your problem, right? Like, they're that, not to be mean, because they mean something as humans, but they don't mean anything to you, right? Because they're not in your arena. They're not in your arena. So it's really about separating yourself from people that matter and people that don't. These people's comments matter. These people's comments do not. And it's hard. You have to learn this skill. And like, it's not something that you can just say like, okay, well, I'm just going to think that nobody else matters except for these people on this list. It takes time, but for you, Elena, since I know you so well, this is just you feeling like everyone's staring at you. No one's staring at you. No one's concerned. No one's concerned with what you're eating. I know that for a fact. Okay. The only thing I was thinking about, because you are one of my clients, the only thing I was thinking about for you is that the only thing that they're thinking about when you're sitting at a restaurant and you're ordering is like how long it's going to take for you to order with all the substitutions that you're making or all the questions that you're asking about what's in it, right? That's the only thing that people are going to be thinking about when they're sitting at the table with you, watching you eat. Okay. I think it's none of your business what other people think of you because they're not you. Yeah. Yeah, it literally does not matter. And it's one of the things that my daughter, she's 8 and in the 3rd grade. So we are like in the thick of that kind of stuff, right? And she comes home regularly and tells me about what someone said about her that wasn't true and all this kind of stuff. And just because someone says it, just because someone thinks something about it, doesn't make it true. I mean, it doesn't. They don't even know. And these are like strangers. Like when you're thinking about what are all these people in this restaurant going to think of me, they're strangers. Like who cares? And it's none of your business. Like Jody says, it's none of your business what people think of you because they're not you. Like who cares what they think? And I know it sounds really easy, and yet you're thinking like, okay, that's easy for you to say, but you know, you've lost the weight. Hey girl, I know. Even after I lost the weight, I still felt like that. It takes head and heart work. So there are people that are still overweight but have done, you know, the head and the heart work, and they feel it. They feel good about it, right? So for this one, it's really about doing the head and heart work so that you can get to a place where you feel intrinsically worthy. So you don't have to, so like other people's opinions, that's what they are. They're other people's opinions, right? Okay, so I think I've answered all of them. If there's anybody else on here that has a question, I'll be glad to answer it as well. Let's see. I'll just wait for a second, because last time I did this, I like got off too early. Sorry. I'll wait. I'm drinking chamomile tea today, guys, which I don't normally do, but I thought I would do it because we only had one left, so it's okay. I'm not a big chamomile tea fan. All right, so there's no other questions or comments. If you watch this as a replay, because I know a lot of you weren't able to make this time, if you watch this as a replay and you hear my specific answer to you and you have any questions, PM me. Also, if you want to get on a call, my clients know. If you want to get on a nutrition assessment call, they're free, and yeah, there's no obligation, there's no pressure to like, I'm not going to try and recruit you to my programs, but if you're interested in, you know, figuring out maybe what piece of it is missing for you and what we could work on and what I think the direction needs to be for you, I'll be glad to chat with you. It's via Zoom, it's fun, it's easy. Like I said, I can explain the programs, but it's up to you. There's no pressure, no obligation or anything like that. So if that's something that you want to do before the holidays, so that maybe come January you're like ready to go, for all of you who are waiting till January, and if you're thinking, you know what, now or never, like I'm going to do this for the holidays, even like some of my folks, then do that too. So that is it. If you just hopped on, and you have a question, let me know. I'll stay on for another few minutes. And if I don't know who this is. So anyways, if not, PM me and I will chat with you guys later. All right, bye guys.